Hey everybody, here we go. Me and old Noodle again. Welcome back to the Trading Post. Yeah, you all know this is Noodle, my little co-host, my buddy. I think he's still half asleep. Anyways, I just wanted to tell you guys, this is, of course, the Trading Post, and this is the Fred Files. This is episode 3, the Haunted Lake Shawnee amusement park. I hope you guys all enjoy this one. All right? And we'll be back here in just a second. Okay? Hang tight. All right, everybody. Welcome back. As me and Noodle already introduced ourselves. And again, this is the Fred Files, episode 3. The Haunted Lake Shawnee amusement park. I hope you guys are ready for this. All right. Now, I got some... I got different takes on this and how things came to be, etc., etc. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the pictures in the beginning. You got to see a little bit of some of the stuff that I could gather to put for the introduction. But yeah, this it got a little bit of a story back behind this, and it's something else. I did gather some information. There was one from 12. I think it's 12 WBOY. Must have been a news channel or something like that, a news station. They printed something out. I think her name was Amy or Amber that wrote this. But I'm going to go ahead and go down through it, and I'm going to show you what they come up with. So they said Lake Shawnee Amusement Park near Princeton, West Virginia, once started as a joyful place, but ended up steeped in tragedy. The violent history of the park started in the 18th century when Mitchell Clay established an 800-acre farm and raised 14 kids with his wife. According to the travel site, Visit Mercer County, tragedy struck the Clays in 1783, when Native Americans from the Shawnee tribe killed 2 of Clay's young children and kidnapped a third, eventually burning him at the stake. Wow. Already starting out with it, geez. With the help of other settlers, Clay retaliated against the tribe, tracking several members down and killed them, later becoming known as the Clover Bottom Massacre. Unaware of the sordid background of the land, proprietor Conley Snitto purchased it in 1926 to establish rides and attractions, which included circular swings, a water slide, a dance hall, and a speakeasy. If you young bloods don't know what a speakeasy is, that was an illegal place to go drinking moonshine, illegal stuff. Okay, anyhow. Snitto also added a swimming hole with canoes. The park was open for nearly 20 years until tragedy struck. Visit Mercer County says that a boy drowned in the park's pond, and the final straw was when a loading truck backed into the path of one of the swings, killing a 3-year-old child. Man. God, it just all hit us at once right in the face, didn't it? Jesus. The park shut down in 1966, leaving behind haunting memories and rides that were eventually taken over by nature. All right? The park remained abandoned for another 20 years until Gaylord White decided the site would be ideal for future neighborhoods. Visit Mercer County says that when construction crews broke ground, what they unearthed was enough to stop construction in its tracks. The amusement park was built atop an ancient burial ground, and most of the skeletons were those of children. The White family decided not to tempt fate, and instead of developing community lots, they left burial grounds and rides intact, later allowing tours which Visit Mercer County says has attracted paranormal fans and ghost hunters from across the country. All right, the Travel Channel ranks the park as one of the most terrifying places in America. And experts with ABC have declared the park one of the 10 most haunted places in the world. Visitors have claimed to hear footsteps, mysterious chants, and even children, with some saying one of the swings will move on its own. Fans of the occult can visit the haunted site during regular paranormal events throughout the year, and private arrangements can also be made. Guests visiting in October can experience the Dark Carnival, which features a guided tour, a haunted trail, and a corn maze. Now, the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park is is a defunct amusement park in Princeton, West Virginia, located along Lake Shawnee. Opened in 1926, the park operated for 62 years before closing in 1988. It received public attention for urban legends regarding the park being haunted due to accidental deaths supposedly caused by cursed land. Now, we're going to go into the history of it. The land on which the amusement park was built was a site of a massacre after landowner Mitchell Clay's children were murdered by Native Americans in 1785. Two of the children had been killed and scalped, while the third was captured and taken to Chillicothe and burned at the stake. Clay sought revenge, and with the help of other landowners, he killed several of the Native American raiding party. In 1926, an entrepreneur named Conley Trigg Snitto Sr. purchased the land and began developing an amusement park for the people of Mercer County, West Virginia, which we discussed him already. The park, which featured a Ferris wheel and a swing ride, was popular among locals in the county, particularly families of coal miners who resided in the area. It also featured a swimming pool, a racetrack, concession stands, dance hall, and cabins for overnight stays. 2 drowning deaths were reported during Snitto's ownership, as well as the death of a young girl on the swing ride in 1966. The park was closed in 1967 because of a failed health inspection. In 1985, Gaylord White, a former employee who had worked at the park, purchased the land and reopened the amusement park in the summer of '87. After 3 years, increasing insurance rates forced the park to close in 1988. White sought other uses for the park, such as fishing, tournaments, and off-road motorsports, while working on a tract of land in the early 1990s. White's crews uncovered numerous Native American artifacts on the property that had been buried prior to the arrival of Anglo-European settlers. Archaeologists from Marshall University spent several years uncovering artifacts and graves, and a total of 13 Native American skeletons were uncovered, mostly of elderly and young people. Shortly after, White began hosting Halloween week guided paranormal tours of the property. Let me pause this for a minute. Now, in media or TV, here's some of the things you can check out that actually covered this place, okay? Due to these local legends, the park was featured on the television series Scariest Places on Earth in 2002, which aired on ABC Family. The park was also showcased on the Part 5 episode of Most Terrifying Places in America, which aired on the Travel Channel in 2010. The park was also featured in 2010 on Everyday Paranormal in Season 2 of Discovery Channel's Ghost Lab. All right. Now in 2019, the amusement park was also featured in haunted locations on the paranormal TV series Most Terrifying Places, which aired on Travel Channel. And the park was also featured on the paranormal TV series The Unexplained, which aired on History Channel in 2019. The park was also featured in a 2021 episode of Portals to Hell with Jack Osborne, which is Ozzy Osbourne's son. In 2023, the park was featured on Alone Paranormal Edition, created by Omar Gosh TV on YouTube. So you can check that out as well. Now here's a nice long note that I got on here. Okay, Lake Shawnee, this is just about Lake Shawnee itself, is an unincorporated community in Mercer County, West Virginia. Lake Shawnee is located along U.S. Route 19, 3.5 miles to 5.6 kilometers northwest of Princeton. The Lake Shawnee Abandoned Park was abandoned in 1966. Occupies a desecrated native burial ground, which was the site of the 1783 Mitchell Clay settler farm. 3 of the Clay children, Bartley, Tabitha, Ezekiel, were killed by a band of natives. Mitchell Clay led a group of settlers in bloody retaliation, killing several natives. In the 1920s, businessman Conley T. Snitto, there he is again, purchased the site of the Clay farm for development as an amusement park. Okay? At least 6 park patrons were killed while the park was in operation. A little girl on the swing set was hit after a truck backed into the path of the swing. A boy drowned in the park's swimming pond. The park structures and rides are still standing in disrepair. Now we're going to go through with the newspaper clipping. You've probably seen that prior to all this. Okay, according to that gory account, A band of all marauding Shawnee Indians came upon the Clay homestead at the time when Mitchell Clay was out hunting and discovered two of the younger Clay boys, Bartley and Ezekiel, in a field building a fence around some stacks of grain. The Indians killed and scalped Bartley Clay and his sister Tabitha, who tried to come to the rescue of the brothers. They captured Ezekiel, who tried to escape them by hiding in a corn shock. According to Johnston's account, about the time the attack was made by the Indians, a man by the name of Ligon Blankenship called at Clay's cabin, and when Miss Clay discovered her daughter in a struggle with the Indian, begged Blankenship to go and shoot the Indian and save her child. Instead thereof, he took to his heels and ran to the New River settlements and reported that Clay and all of his family had been killed by the Indians. This cowardly behavior of Blankenship has been handed down from generation to generation and perhaps will be the end of time. The truth of this account is impossible to ascertain. But whatever the case, Miss Clay and her other children, some of the older ones, were away from home at the time, escaped by hiding in the woods, and fled 6 miles through the woods to the house of a James Bailey, who had settled on Brush Creek in 1782 and was the Clays' nearest neighbor. Okay? The Indians, meanwhile, left the scene with Ezekiel as a prisoner and headed for their town near Chillicothe, Ohio, following the old Indian trail from Bluestone across Flat Top Mountain and down the divide between Guyandotte and Coal Rivers. When Mitchell Clay returned to find his 2 children slain and the rest of the family absent, he gathered a party of about 36 men under Captain Matthew Farley, and after burying the 2 children, set out in pursuit of the Indians. According to the Johnston account, the Indians had divided part of them with Ezekiel Clay in custody going down the west fork of Coal River, and the rest continuing down Pond Fork into Boone County. Mitchell Clay and his pursuers caught up with the Indians on Pond Fork, and in a dawn attack killed at least 4 of them. The group of Indians who fled down the west fork of Coal River made their way back to their town at Chillicothe, burned 16-year-old Ezekiel Clay at the stake in retaliation. The Johnston account notes that thereafter, Mitchell Clay and his family moved to New River and purchased from the executors of Captain William Ingalls a part of the farm which is now owned by J. Raleigh Johnston, Esquire, across the river from the Norfolk and Western Railway Station at Pearisburg, Virginia. And Clay built his house on very nearly the same spot on which Mr. Johnston's house now stands. This Clay house was removed some years ago to a point on the same farm about half a mile north of where it originally stood. It still remains, and in the logs may yet be seen the portholes. Mr. Clay and his wife, whose maiden name was Phoebe Belcher of Bedford, later Franklin County, Virginia, had 14 children. His sons were Henry, Charles, Mitchell Jr., David, William, Bartley, and Ezekiel. His daughters were Tabitha, Rebecca, who married Colonel George Paris, Patience, who married Captain John Peters, Obedience, who married John French, Nanny, who married Joseph Hare, and Mary, who married William Stewart, and whose descendants now compose a large part of the population of Wyoming County, West Virginia. Mitchell Clay died on his New River farm in 1812. Other accounts say 1811. Having sold his Clover Bottom tract to Hugh Innes and to his son-in-law, Colonel Pierce, the facts and circumstances connected with this Clay tragedy and the battle fought with the Indians on Coal River is taken from the Clay MSS, written out by Mitchell Clay and John Clay, grandsons of the said Mitchell. Okay? The other account of the massacre varies greatly from the Johnston account. It was written by Curtis A. Clay for Jim Comstock's West Virginia Hillbilly and was carried in December 23, 1967 issue of that weekly newspaper. According to that account, Mitchell Clay and 2 of his sons were absent taking grain to town when the Indian attack occurred. This agrees that Bartley and Tabitha Clay were killed by the Indians at the outset, but differs greatly thereafter. The marauding Indians slowed by stolen livestock, were overtaken as they were making camp on Coal River in what is now Boone County. The posse watched from a nearby hill, and after the Indians were asleep, Clay and his men crept to within a few yards of them and waited for daybreak. As the Indians started to stir, the men of the posse each took aim at an Indian apiece and shot him. Then, drawing their hunting knives, they rushed the rest of the band and killed them. Ezekiel Clay was released and the party returned home, bringing the stolen cattle and 18 Indian scalps. Mitchell Clay, Phoebe, and their children moved to New River and settled. As adults, several of the Clay children returned to the area that is now in southern West Virginia. Henry J. Clay returned, but later moved into what is now Wyoming County and is buried in the Stewart Cemetery at Matheny. Mary and Obedience Clay became I don't know. I think they kind of blended that in. There was two of them, Mary and Obedience. So I don't know. It says Mary Obedience Clay, the second wife of Captain Ralph Stewart, which would have been, I think Mary was the wife of Ralph Stewart, not Obedience, according to what they said prior. And they made their home in what is now Wyoming County. John T. Clay became the first sheriff of Raleigh County. Many of the Clays of Mercer, Raleigh, and Wyoming counties claim Mitchell Clay as their forefather. Which of these accounts is more nearly the true story? We have no way of knowing at this point, do we? But one of you watching, viewing, anybody that researches it, maybe you might come up with the real answer. Who knows? But nevertheless, this was very intriguing of a story. I mean, it's got action and drama. It's got a lot of suspense to it, a lot of background and history to this amusement park. Do you think that this amusement park is truly haunted? Do you think that the native burial ground is the cause to all this? Do you think that maybe the incidents in the amusement park was strictly just accidents that happened? Natural caused incidents? What's your take on this? Let us know. Tell us down in the comments below. And I hope you guys was intrigued with this account, this story. If you want me to try and dig into it a little bit deeper and do a part 2, let me know. We can try and do that. It's about you guys and what you want. Let me know. If I don't hear from you, I don't know what you want. Okay? So, as I said before, this is another of the Fred Files. This is episode 3. And this is the Haunted Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. And I have the actual phone number. I have the location and the times that they have there, I think, on the one of the pictures I have here in the beginning. So if you guys are interested, you can definitely check it out. I mean, hey, feel free. We all have interests, and there's always some intriguing stuff out in this world that we don't know about, that we don't, I'm bringing it to the forefront so you guys know about it. Now you understand, now you know, if you haven't heard of it or seen of it up to this point. Honestly, I didn't know nothing about it until I started researching it. And who knows, maybe one day I might go there personally myself. Maybe even do some personal video and do, a little part 2 on this where we can have that on there. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot involved with that, so we'll see what happens down the road. But we got all the information that I could muster up in the time frame that I had to do so. If you guys find out anything else, or you pinpoint something that maybe I said was wrong, let me know. We'll try to rectify that. We'll try to straighten it out. But I tried to get all the facts that I could from what I got. Okay? By far, I'm not a professional researcher. I'd like to be, but I'm getting better. I'm trying to. We're all going to try and grow on this channel. Every one of us. We're all going to learn something at some point. But yeah, that's the Haunted Lake Shawnee amusement park. And I hope you guys were all entertained on this one. I hope, maybe you took something away from this. Okay? And my condolences go out for that family, for the children that was killed. According to, what they were saying in one or two of them. The other one, they said they wasn't all killed, but how do we know? We don't know. I know I don't know. We can stipulate, we can, guess at things. But that's about as far as it can go. Okay? Well, anyways, you guys, you have a great day, great night, whatever time it is you're watching this. And this is the Trading Post, the Fred Files, Episode 3, the Haunted Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.